Something a little strange is going on in backyards across Vancouver. Raccoons are being deployed in some of these backyards where they will be completing a number of tests to measure their intelligence. This is all part of a new project by researchers at the University of British Columbia. I find this fascinating. Joining me with more is Anne-Marie Mediwake with the Animal Behavior and Cognition Lab with UBC. Good morning to you. Thanks for getting up early.
Hi, yeah, no problem.
Okay, the big question is why?
Yeah, so I'm really hoping that kind of the overarching goal of this project is to get a better understanding of raccoon behavior and their intelligence or cognition, and how a better understanding of this can help us promote better coexistence with raccoons. And on the other side of that equation is also getting a better understanding of our human behavior and how that might be affecting raccoons, both at like a landscape scale, so how we're designing cities, and also at the backyard scale, so how are we perceiving and interacting with the raccoons that are right in our backyard.
Literally in our backyards. So I want to ask you about the testing and how you're going to go about doing this. So we're going to show our viewers right now an image of a raccoon interacting with one of the tests you're conducting. So this is one of the tests. What are we seeing and what is expected?
Yeah, so this test is to test something called inhibitory control. So you can think of this, I think if you have pets at home, like a cat or a dog, and you have a glass coffee table, you've maybe had the experience of dropping a piece of food onto that coffee table, and if your dog's underneath, they're going right for that piece of food, but they can't get to it with the coffee table. So this is sort of the same idea, where we have this clear tube with a small piece of food in the bottom of it, and the sort of the automatic response of the raccoons and other animals that this has been tested in is to automatically reach for the bottom of that tube and try and grab that piece of food. So what we want to see the response from this is whether they will actually detour and stop that automatic response and actually detour and reach into the top of the food tube to grab the food.
So interesting. And what other tests are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm interested in looking at something called domain general cognition, which is going to be examining a bunch of different types of what we call cognitive domains. So you can think of this like if you're going to the grocery store, for instance, you're doing a lot of things at once that you're maybe not even necessarily thinking about. So you're checking things off your list. Maybe they rearrange something. You need to find the bread. You're doing a calculation as you go through. So you're making sure you're not going over budget. You're checking and see if the fruit is ripe, all this good stuff. So you're doing all of that sort of simultaneously. So what we want to know is whether raccoons also have the ability to engage in these different cognitive domains simultaneously, and if they're doing well in one domain, then they're also doing well in others. So we're planning to look at spatial memory, so where how do they remember where to find food, the inhibitory control, which is sort of a measure of self-control, also looking at numerical discrimination, which is fairly self-explanatory. Can they tell the difference between two quantities? And then also, one of the things that raccoons are famous for are their front paws, which have a lot of nerve endings in them. They're highly sensitive. So looking at tactile discrimination, basically, can they tell the difference between very subtle differences in different textures?
It really is fascinating. I hope you come back on and show us the results and the real life implications of those results. Anne-Marie Mediwake, thanks for your time. Appreciate the raccoon photo behind you and me. All right, take care.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.